Good morning. Thanks, Monica. And depending on where you are, it's a pretty foggy morning across a lot of Michigan here. We had some cooler air from Canada move in during the last 12 to 24 hours. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. But also, in general, looking at a very summer-like forecast. It's mid-July, or we're moving into mid-July anyway, and it's certainly the forecast is going to agree with that. So, but starting with our review here of the previous week, for most of the state, the vast majority, and most of the region, it was another warmer than normal week. The left-hand side here are our temperature departures. Most areas you can see between 2 and 5 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. Not as warm as it had been earlier, but still above normal. The interesting, I think, graphics here, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but on the right-hand side are precip totals. These only go through 8 a.m. yesterday morning, and they're obviously in some places with some very significant rainfall during the last 24 hours. I'll show you that in just a second. But for our week total, which goes through again yesterday, wide variety, ranging from another week of very heavy rain in the northern part of the state, especially central upper Michigan. The yellows here are 2 inches or greater. But most of the UP, a vast majority had at least 3/4 of an inch, and many places did better than that. We also had noticed significant rainfall across portions of central lower, especially over in just north of Saginaw Bay. And that's an area that we've been watching carefully because there's some drier than normal areas there, long-term dryness there. And so some of that rainfall was certainly a reverse of that trend. But same token, notice as you go south and west, especially down to the southwestern lower, there were many areas that had less than a quarter, had none. And the issue there is over the last, especially the last 30 to 40 days, we have seen that area repeatedly missed by rainfall. And of course, especially with the areas that have coarser, well-drained soils, the lack of water, given that we're near peak potential evapotranspiration rates here during this time of the year, there just hasn't been enough water to go around, and that's something I'm going to focus on here just a little bit. Starting with a daily portrayal here of daily max min temperatures on the top and daily precipitation totals. This is from Grand Rapids, and this is fairly typical of the area that I just mentioned that's been missed by the rainfall. Both of these charts go back to the beginning of April up through yesterday. And well, what you can see from the temperatures, these are shown, the blue bars here are the observed max and min for that day. But what's useful about this graphic is it shows where are we relative to normal. And that brown area in the middle, that's the normal max and the normal min, at least what climate tells us. And then the pink and the blue, those are the record warm and cool temperatures for that individual date. And so again, for at least the last month, you can see we've typically been at or above normal. The heat wave we had back in late June, you can see that shows up right here. Well, again, the 22nd through 24th of June with some record high temperatures for those days. But in general, it has been milder than normal over much of the last month. Now, shifting downward here towards the precip. This one is interesting, and it illustrates what I just talked about with the area mist. So the green line here is an accumulating observed precipitation total beginning. This one actually goes back all the way to the beginning of the year. But what we see here over time at Grand Rapids, the brown line is the normal climate total of that day. But when we have our green line below the brown, we're obviously running a deficit. And you can see that really since the beginning of April, this area certainly, and much of western lower Michigan has been running a deficit. That deficit's on the order now, at least back to the beginning of the year, of over 5 inches. And just as importantly, the other total I put in here from our EnviroWeather sites nearby, that's the total reference evapotranspiration for that period. You can see 14.5 inches. So the combination of below normal rainfall and above normal PET has led to a rapid depletion of water, especially the soil water reserves, and certainly more is needed. And that's something we're watching. Here, the soil moisture conditions reflect what we just talked about here. This is from NASA, the one of the simulations, Sportless it's called, of soil moisture. This is the top 3 feet, so it's a fairly large volume of soil, but it shows pretty well, reflects some of these recent trends. And the browns and yellows here are all areas that are drier than is normal climatologically at this time of the year. So the first part of July. Greens are the opposite. Are wet, and you can see again in lower Michigan, especially still in portions of the Saginaw Valley and the Thumb, westward and southward down to the southwestern lower. Those are the areas that have really dried out quickly here, especially in the southwest over the last month. Degree day totals for the season, these are the 8650 threshold. So these are the corn degree day units beginning on May 1, assuming you planted on May 1. And these are the departures from normal. And what you can see here is that, with the exception of the far northern part of the state, up in the UP, where there's a little bit of a deficit still, most of the state now has a surplus. And that's not surprising given the warmer than normal temperatures that we've recorded here over the last several weeks. So again, near to a little bit behind in the far north, but most of the state is running a little bit of a surplus, and a larger surplus as you move south into the main corn belt. So on a weather map here this morning, I mentioned high pressure. We usually don't think about clouds and gloomy weather here with high pressure, but there's subsidence. There's a lot of humidity out there. The high dew points are still around, but you can see the high here over the Upper Peninsula. A little piece of Canadian air. It's not, well, I'll show you. There's actually some cool air up north. It's actually down in the upper 30s, believe it or not, in the portions of Upper Michigan here this morning. Most of the state, though, is in the 50s and 60s, so following the frontal passage that went through yesterday. The next weather system of note here off to our west, it's a frontal boundary with an area of low pressure in southern Canada, and that's going to be approaching here by later tonight, overnight tonight, and then be with us for the next couple days. So that's the first major system, weather system of note in our forecast for precip, and that'll be primarily over the next couple days. We should see drier weather then by the end of the weekend and into early next week, and then the second weather system of note probably by the middle of next week. So giving you sort of a general outlook here for the next several days. On our current map here, and I apologize, there's lots of colors. I'm bombarding everybody here with color. But on I mentioned cool temperatures in north. This is conditions as of 6:30, and again 40s and even a couple upper 30s in the UP. The air temperatures here much warmer in the south, but also note down at the bottom, I threw this satellite up here because sometimes it's you look at a satellite, and if we look down from space, this is what the visible eye would see down here in the lower left. And you can see at that point in time, you can still see some of the lights from the cities and so forth, but it looks relatively clear, which means there aren't many clouds. But for most of us, we all know, no, that's not true. We've got a lot of fog out there. Well, we look at another one of the bands from the satellite, and this one picks up water vapor down in the lowest layer of the atmosphere. And that one with the yellows and oranges here indicates a very, very different story. That describes, I think, shows really, really well where that fog and those low clouds are. That's going to gradually burn off during the morning because of the high pressure that's over us, and we will see a gradual, well, the sun come out and be mostly sunny for most areas here this afternoon. One more thing, and it's certainly worth mentioning. Yesterday, with the cold front moving through the state from northwest to southeast, we did have scattered showers and thunderstorms develop, and these are 24-hour precip totals now that do reflect the rain that came yesterday, and there were some spots, including portions of the Thumb and southeastern lower Michigan, that had very slow-moving thunderstorms with lots of water, and the yellows, browns here are indicating several inches of rain that fell in those areas. And note also, especially look at the one in Huron here in extreme northern Sanilac. You didn't have to go very far, and there was no rain. There was no precipitation at all. So we've seen this spotty pattern here for much of the last few weeks, especially in southwestern lower Michigan. But that one's an extreme, and we've already heard of reports in excess of, well, it's some as much as 6 inches that fell, which is really, that's a 100-year event or greater for the state of Michigan. Very, very unusual to see something like that, and just a couple miles away, virtually none fell. But that the greens here is everything in green there is more than half an inch, and you can see some embedded yellows, which indicates at least 2 inches. So very, very spotty, but some cases very, very significant and heavy rainfall that did fall yesterday. By tomorrow morning here, this is the forecast conditions as of um, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. That weather system we saw earlier gets a little bit closer to the state. We will see the threat of some isolated showers and thunder showers here in the western part of the state overnight. I think it's going to be probably confined to the first couple tiers of counties, and it's not going to be heavy, but there still is a definitely probably a 40 or 50% chance that we do see a little bit of rain. Again, not on the heavy side. The rest of the state should remain dry here, at least through the evening. That system then gets closer tomorrow morning and sets up the stage statewide tomorrow for scattered showers and thunderstorms. Again, not widespread, but probably 40 or 50% odds. And it should be more widespread tomorrow during the day, Friday. By Friday night, the weather system gets inches a little bit closer, and so do our precip pops. Right now, with this first weather system coming in, it looks like there will be a couple different higher probabilities of precipitation. One of them will be overnight tonight into early tomorrow. Then there should be probably a little bit of a lull, and then the second one comes overnight Friday and into Saturday. And if we look at the weather map here, this is Saturday at 8 a.m. We'll have, again, once statewide, a chance, we'll call it scattered showers and thunderstorms. Not everybody's going to get rainfall, but a lot of areas will, and generally talking about quarter to half inch amounts. But timing wise, I would say the greatest threat for rainfall is going to be here again overnight tonight into early tomorrow, and then tomorrow evening into early Saturday. And then finally, better chance, especially in eastern lower Michigan, the best chance will probably come on Saturday afternoon because we'll have the frontal boundary you see here on the map, which is forecast to be in Wisconsin on Saturday morning. That will push through the state west to east overnight Saturday into Sunday. That will lead to a couple days, at least 2 to 3 days of dry, very warm. Temperatures here, we're looking at daytime temperatures from the upper 70s to near 80 in the north to some low, mid, maybe a few upper 80s in the south, and then lows generally from the upper 50s north to the 60s in the south, and pretty much stay there most of the upcoming 7 days. After Saturday, and even some lingering showers in the east on maybe Sunday morning before things clear off and dry out. But the next chance for rain after that, probably coming about Wednesday of next week. So again, thinking about the longer term time frame here, that would be the next chance for precip. For totals for the week here, it looks, again, this is National Weather Service guidance. They're fairly bullish on precipitation, with most of the states seeing at least a half, if not 3/4 of an inch. Some cases better than that. I think it may be a little bit aggressive, but there are going to be several chances for precip here, certainly during the upcoming week. You can see that greatest totals across northern and then far southern parts of the state, where again some spots picking up more than 1 inch. We've seen the tendency certainly over the last few weeks has been for heavier rainfall across the northern part of the state, and that probably will continue here for much of the upcoming week. In terms of water demand, with above normal temperatures generally, or at least near to above normal, let's call it that, a few degrees over the next week. We are looking for elevated PET, or the potential evapotranspiration rates. And these are the weekly forecast totals through next Wednesday evening. And you can see that averages out to about 17 hundredths of an inch in northern parts of the state near the lakes, to 2/10, 21 hundredths. And so that's a few hundredths of an inch above normal. So expect continued, for many areas, continued accelerated water, at least demand. Remember, this is the atmospheric demand. It's not how much is actually out there. It depends on what the system is, whether you have irrigation, rain fed, etc. But this describes the anticipated atmospheric demand for water, which again probably will be above normal for the upcoming week. Well, finally, into the medium range here, there have been a couple changes in our guidance. We'll be upfront and honest here. They all had been pointing towards warmer than normal mean temperatures here over the next few weeks, and really for much of the remainder of July. The most recent guidance from last night and from yesterday actually suggests that there might be a couple of periods of some cooler air from Canada to move in and change that a little bit. And this outlook here, this is a 6 to 10 day for the 15th through the 19th. It reflects that. On the upper right here, you can see that Michigan is basically in between an area of warmer than normal to our east and then a little cooler than normal as we go west. And that signal had not been there earlier. Or again, most of it was warmer than normal, and I that's still my personal opinion. I think we will probably still turn out to be a little milder than normal. The other message coming through in the medium range, at least for the next 1 to 2 weeks, is normal to above normal precipitation totals. And of course, with many of our field crops now rapidly approaching, moving into moisture sensitive stages. This is a big issue. We're watching, of course, more than Michigan too. We're looking at the Corn Belt as well, but it does look like a fairly active storm track across the Midwest with above normal chances for precipitation and probably above normal precipitation amount. So that's something significant. Of course, we have to have the water to get through pollination, or it's at some of these sensitive stages. And right now, that's at least the direction that the forecast points at. So wrapping up here, we're starting the day foggy and cloudy, but it should end up this afternoon looks really nice to be outside with near normal temperatures actually today, but we should see a lot of sunshine this afternoon. And then an extended period of scattered showers and thunderstorms beginning overnight tonight through tomorrow and into Saturday and even into the beginning of Sunday, and then warm, very warm and fair and dry for into the early part of next week, and then followed by maybe more rain the middle of next week. And as you just saw with the medium range here, a little bit of everything, but generally I think still pointing towards the warmer than normal, maybe a little wetter than normal direction for the next few weeks.